You're listening to the Journey Podcast. How can a simple shift in mindset lead to extraordinary changes? Don't miss today's inspiring discussion. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In this episode, we delve into the transformative power of mindset and its profound impact on personal and professional success. Our guest shares valuable insights on how changing your thought patterns can lead to significant life changes and open up new opportunities. We'll explore practical strategies for overcoming self-limiting beliefs, managing imposter syndrome, and aligning your actions with your true aspirations. Our conversation offers fresh perspectives on harnessing your inner potential and achieving your goals, no matter where you are in your personal or professional journey. Tune in to discover how a shift in mindset could be the key to unlocking the life and career you've always dreamed of. Falling into entrepreneurship in her mid-20s, Gemma Gilmour built a thriving business as a behavior analyst dedicated to autistic children. Her life took a significant turn when she became a mother, prompting her to seek a balance between work and family life. Craving both freedom and impact, she pivoted to expand her autism business online, offering courses, coaching, and a membership program. Despite the unexpected challenges, she persevered through years of hustle and self-doubt. A transformative experience with a mindset coach led Gemma to a profound realization. She had fallen out of love with her autism business. Inspired by her coaching journey, she took a leap of faith and became a mindset maestro herself. Diving deeper into the intricate dance of mind, body, and emotions, she evolved from a behavior analyst to a quantum leap coach. Her unique coaching style goes beyond mere thoughts and cognition, offering an inside-out transformation. Today, she helps highly ambitious, purpose-driven coaches and skilled experts who are ready to embrace their full potential, overcome self-limiting beliefs, and finally be recognized as the experts they truly are. Here is my interview with Gemma Gilmour. Hi, Gemma. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because change your mindset, change your life is such an interesting topic for today's conversation. I actually can't wait to dive in. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. And I agree, it's a bold claim, isn't it? Change your mindset, change your life.
Yeah, absolutely. But I have a feeling that you're going to tell us exactly how that works. So I'm very curious to hear more about that. So, for starters, would you like to share a little bit about yourself and your story? Maybe let us know where all this started, what you do today, and kind of how you came to doing that.
Yeah, of course. So I'm a scientist, like through and through. I have a master's degree in applied behavior psychology. And I spent 15 years growing a business working with autistic children in a profession that didn't really exist here in Scotland, where I live. And it was tough. It was really difficult. It felt like an emotional roller coaster, second guessing myself, always pushing and hustle energy. And then COVID hit, and I just sort of fell apart. I was absolutely exhausted, trying to do all the things that I thought I should be doing to grow. We had an in-person business, which was the bread and butter side of the business, but I was really trying to push the online side of the business because I've got young children. I want to be at home more and have more freedom to be with them. And yet I kept on getting caught up in this same sort of cycle of getting excited that I'd found the new shiny object thing, like, oh, I need to get better at this or that, this marketing tactic or that strategy, getting excited about that, implementing it, it not getting me the results I had anticipated in my head, and then feeling dejected and deflated, and then just believing it was my fault because I needed to work harder, needed to work longer hours or more. It was something to do with me, or I wasn't good enough. And so eventually, somebody in one of the many groups I was in at the time had said, you should see a mindset coach. And I honestly, it was like, ugh, no. I just thought that's just going to be a waste of time. It's all woo. I'll just be hemorrhaging more cash, because that was one of my sort of, now I realize, escape tactics was, I'll just pay you and you fix my problem for me. I'll just pay the business coaches. And, I was that perfect person who would sign up to the course and actually do all the work. But it was just like hemorrhaging cash. Anyway, eventually I decided something has to change. And I invested in a coach. Actually, she was Canadian. And we were just talking that that's where you've spent a lot of your life. And this girl changed my life. Like, it was 12 weeks of one-to-one coaching. And within the very first session, actually, she said to me, Gemma, I don't think this is a problem so much with your confidence. Of course, I was like, it's my confidence. I have imposter syndrome. I diagnosed myself with all of the above. And she's like, I think you've fallen out of love with your business. I just don't think it's in alignment with what you want to do anymore. And honestly, my reaction was, I was quite angry. I got very defensive. Like, who do you think you are? This is my baby. I, built this up from scratch. And she was just like, whoa, look at your reaction here. There's a red flag. There's something here. And of course, that opened a can of worms. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, what else? What would I do with my life? Like, if I poured everything, my heart and soul, into this line of work, and the guilt also of letting down the families that had invested in with me for years. But as I got more and more coaching from this woman, I just loved the work she was doing. Like, I just felt like she was unraveling me, like peeling back the layers. And I've never had that level of awareness about myself before. I was too busy looking outside of myself for the answers that I wanted. I hadn't really ever explored my thoughts or my feelings at all. And I think with my training as a behavior analyst, I was always observing behaviors I could see out with me, not the thoughts and feelings and the belief systems. And yeah, I was just so inspired by her work. I thought, I kind of want to do this. Maybe I want to be you. And she was like, yeah, you'd be great at this. And that was it. I pivoted my business and I started this Gemma Gilmour coaching business. I think it's 3 years now. I think I'm in year 3 now. And because I have a background in applied behavior analysis, I really wanted training that would give me an in-depth sort of learning with neuroscience and quantum physics. Like, I like the woo, but I like to understand how it works. All the law of attraction, law of vibration, it all sounds great. Tell me how it works. I'm a Virgo as well, so I think that explains part of that. And yeah, I did this course with a lady from the Netherlands, and it was just mind blowing. And so I'm now trained through her and a certified quantum leap coach. That's what my title is, I guess.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing your journey so far. And that sounds really exciting. And in a way, also, I see myself and maybe many other of the listeners in your story, and that sometimes we become, should we say, unaligned or misaligned with what we initially had thought brought us this excitement and joy, just to really find out after some time it might not quite be what we want anymore. And at that point, having the fear set in, the anxiety set in, the guilt set in. And so, what if we do pivot? Oh, that's going to wreck everything that we have so far. So, I do see a lot of that happening in the business world. And even when it comes to if we're working a job and that no longer feels aligned, that can be very difficult to make those decisions. So, I'm very excited that you decided to follow your spark and pivot your business, change your business. And it sounds like you found a niche and a place for what you love doing. And so, how does this type of coaching that you provide, how does that help entrepreneurs and mostly, I guess you work with professionals or business owners?
Mhm.
How does that help them? Where does the mindset piece actually connect to what we do in our businesses?
Okay, so it's actually really simple, but none of us are taught this at school, right? We're taught how to read and write, but we're not taught how to use our brains or to regulate our feelings. But you have a thought which evokes a feeling, and you take action from that feeling. And that's what creates the results that we see in our life. So if you think about it, if you want different results, you need to take different actions, you need to create different feelings and thoughts. It all goes back to the same formula. And so, but the women who come to me, they're actually very aware. They've consumed all the podcasts, they listen to Mel Robbins, they've read Denise Duffield Thomas's books. They're actually very aware, but that is actually one of their escapes. They're in consumption mode. If I just learn more, then I'll understand why I'm behaving like this. And I think the thing that sets my coaching apart is that there's no self-study here. This is totally experiential. So I will get you to, and I call it drop into your body. And what I mean by that is like, I'm going to invoke the feelings that you feel when you are about to post a post on Facebook, for example, or step into a networking event in person, or any of those types of context or situation which brings up that anxiety, that fear, that self-doubt. I'll invoke that in a coaching session, because when you have somebody in their emotion, that's the gateway to their subconscious. And you can really delve deep into figuring out, okay, the layers of beliefs as well as the sort of experiences, those things or events that have happened in their life that's now holding this self-sabotage in place. And once they've got that level of awareness, they can really step back and out of it. It's like, yeah, this is the matrix I've been living in. This is the lens that I've been using. And actually, just because I think this way and feel this sort of corresponding feeling doesn't make the thought true. And that is such a crucial piece to really be able to let it go or put it down. It's this distorted thinking pattern with, I feel an emotion, I have a thought, I'm not good enough. So say it's like a feeling of self-doubt and a thought that I'm not good enough. Oh my God, therefore it's not true. It's definitely true. I'm not good enough, because it's a genuine experience you're feeling. And so my main job with my ladies is to really help them regulate. So just because you're thinking and feeling like this doesn't mean it's true, right? This is just your brain doing its job beautifully and trying to protect you. You can choose, and that is a choice, to think and feel this way. And so it's really about helping them peel back all of the societal conditioning, limiting beliefs, their rules, their identities, just to reconnect with their true essence. And from that place, you take inspired and aligned action in your business. So you're not pushing and hustling and trying to force the outcome through sheer willpower, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I feel like when we are in that place that you're describing, where we are pushing and struggling, and we're sitting there thinking, this has got to be me, because why is nothing moving? Why is my Instagram not getting more followers? Why is my
Yes.
email list not getting more people on it? It has to be me. That costs a lot of mental, emotional, and physical energy. And actually, I feel like a lot of us end up ill, physically ill after
Yeah.
periods like that, because we are struggling so much. And once you can let that go, like you said, we come into a very different place from how we approach ourselves, our health, and our business. And actually, a more inspired place where things come a bit more easier as well. So, how do you help your clients move to that place? You said regulation was really important in this bit. So, are there techniques that you offer them, or modalities or approaches? How do you help your clients move to that?
So, like I said, like my ladies, they don't need more self-study or more information. They need implementation. So it's really about getting them to connect their mind and body. That's it. It's connecting their mind and body. So I have a very specific series of, I call them change patterns, but they're all geared towards specific themes, like separating your sense of self-worth with your self-esteem and your confidence. Because every woman that comes to me, I just want to feel more confident. They always want to feel more confident, right? I'm like, well, confidence for me comes from competence, right? You can't feel confident unless you're good at something, first of all. But I think the mistake people make is making their sense of self-worth, which is entirely separate, based on their successes or failures, or other people's opinions of them. So it's really about separating your human being. Your sense of self-worth is unconditional, right? It's your value. You are unconditionally valuable simply for existing, no matter what you do. separating your human being with your human doing, your thoughts, feelings, actions, and words, because they can change at any point. You can choose to change that stuff. And then building a state of an attitude of optimism is a huge piece of this as well, because we all have a tendency to use a pessimistic lens. We take things personally, we make them permanent, and we make them pervasive. The three P's of pessimism. And then in addition to that, trust, right? I think a lot of women, I just want to feel more confident. Actually, you need more self-trust so that when that seed of doubt, self-doubt comes in, you can be like, no, brain, I've got this. This is the unknown. I don't know what's going to happen. But when I put my offer out there in the world, I'm going to trust that there are people there waiting for exactly what I have to offer, and they're going to be the ones to sign up with me. So I have these very specific change patterns that works on all these different areas. But the key to it is connecting mind and body, because you can't, so many of us are in our heads, and that's societal conditioning, right? We've got to use our bodies as tuning forks way more than we do our intuition, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, very often we do disconnect sort of and just live in our minds to the point where sometimes I feel like I'm just a walking head. Like I don't even have a body that's connected because I'm so caught up with all of the things that are going on. So that's a really, really good insight that you're giving there, that we do need to be mindful of that connection, because once that gets lost, things get so infinitely more difficult for us. Now, I'm curious, you obviously help women do this in their businesses, but when they come back to that connection, when they come back to moving through some of those beliefs, does that ripple into their lives as well outside of their
Oh,
business? Does
absolutely.
that change
Yeah.
kind of who they are?
Then they're focusing more on being than doing, right? So there's a putting down of the jobs to do list. Your list of things to do, just stop, right? Energy first, then action is the mantra I always tell my clients. Like, invest the time to be with yourself and to step into that new way of being and get that like grounded confidence, and that like I call it unshakable, when you're like got that unshakable trust and confidence. It's unwavering. And when you can really feel into that, and you can use language, you can use emotions, you can use your imagination, you're going to show up an entirely different way. And intentions can be felt, right? They can absolutely be felt, whether that's a social media post or an email. So it's the way you are then showing up is the way, if you make a habit of this, and it's just like going to the gym, you're not going to get strong if you lift a weight once a week, right? You've got to go to the gym multiple times a week. But if you create a habit of this, you're going to be showing up differently with your family, with your partner, with your husband, with your kids. You're going to be showing up differently in your business because you've created a new state of being. That's now your new normal. You've elevated yourself. And like I said, people can feel this. You know yourself. If you go into a room and there's been two people arguing and fighting, and there's that phrase, right? God, you could cut the tension with a knife. You're kind of like retreating. Compared to if you go to like a big music festival and everybody's dancing and singing and just loving it, you feel like you're on a high for days afterwards. That's all energy. That's a real thing. So it's like learning to intentionally and purposefully be in that energetic state. Not all the time, right? It's unrealistic. I think life is 50-50. We can't be in high vibe states all of the time. And I really believe it is 50-50. You can't experience sadness without happiness and vice versa. But it's having the tools to manage the uncomfortable emotions without suppressing them. That's the difference. And that is the key. That's the key to the freedom a lot of us are wanting to feel.
Yeah, I agree with that, because obviously life is not going to stop happening. There'll be challenges, there'll be stress. But if we find a way to manage that, if we find a way to show up and actually hold that space and be able to work with that, we'll move forward as a totally different person, I almost feel like. Now, curiously, you also mentioned quantum physics and quantum leaping. So let our listeners know a little bit what that is all about. And does that connect into what you do as a coach as well?
Absolutely. So It's all about collapsing time, right? It's about collapsing time and really stepping into the best version of yourself. And if you haven't heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza, I would highly recommend his books because he'll explain this way better than I will. But he basically explains that when you have a thought and a feeling, you are creating an electromagnetic field. It's invisible, you can't see it, but it's felt, right? It's this energy that we think a thought and we have a feeling and we're creating this energetic field. And that's a vibration put out into the world, into the universe. And that's going to attract or repel what it is that we're thinking and feeling. So if you're in a place of scarcity and lack and confusion and fear and self-doubt and all of those sort of low vibe emotions, guess what you're going to attract back. Your outer experience is a mirror. It's a direct reflection of your inner experience. And so what Dr. Joe talks about, and all the people who know more about quantum physics than I do, he talks about the importance of elevating that emotion so that you can be a magnet. You can be a magnet for more abundance, more money, wealth, health, whatever it is, more love, whatever it is. And I think that we're not taught, right? Because we're taught as a society, if you want this, you need to do this first. And there's such a heavy emphasis on the doing part that we get sucked up into strategy. But actually, it's 80% inner work and just 20% strategy. And if we all learn to flip the script, I genuinely think the world would look like a very different place. We would not have the insane amount of mental health problems that we do across the world if we were all taught this at grassroots, how to be mindful, how to meditate, how to think purposefully, how to feel our feelings, all of this stuff.
Yeah, true. And we can put a lot of science behind this now as well. It used to be kind of stamped off as this woo woo assumption of
Yeah,
what was going on, but there's actually a lot of science available now to talk about this. Heart math, for example, is one of them,
I was
right?
just about to say
Yeah.
Heart Math Institute. Yeah, exactly
So,
that.
yeah, that really proves that what we vibrate on the inside is actually what we put out into the world field. We can affect the world around us just with our thoughts and feelings, it's a crazy concept just in itself. But that, of course, when that mirrors back to us, if we're living in the state of fear, anxiety, like you said, and that continuously mirrors back to us, what does that do to our body, our feelings, our thoughts? It just continues that cycle. So, yeah, really great insight there. And some people might think, well, that's really easy to say, then, okay, I think some positive thoughts and then my life changes. So they might be a little bit skeptical as to how this
Yeah.
actually works. So, how do you work with clients that might have some trouble stepping into this idea of if we change our mindset, we can actually affect the world around us? How can we get started if there's a bit of resistance or disbelief around that?
Yeah, it's true. It's hard to think and feel greater than the kind of the evidence that you have, right? So if you've only got evidence of I've got no money or I've got no clients or whatever, it's hard to think and feel into abundance, right? When your bank balance is at zero. And I get that. And I've been there very much so. So I think that the biggest shift I had in my personal experience, and certainly for my clients as well, is take baby steps. We're not manifesting £1 million, for example. You can just take little baby steps. And it's more about the experience of feeling inspired action, because action is important, but it's got to be inspired and not coming from that push energy. So when you've stepped into a new way of being, and it's not even a new way of being, it's just reconnecting with yourself. When you get rid of all the crap that's kind of layered upon you, you'll get these little nudges and messages and serendipities and glimmers, right? And you're like, that's a great idea. I've just had a light bulb moment. And then that invokes a feeling of excitement, lightness, openness. And you're like, I'm ready to go. I'm going to take inspired action. And I'll give you an example of what happened. This happened to me very recently. We had our family summer holiday in Corfu. It was amazing. And we arrived back in England. We flew from Manchester, left Corfu in 38 degrees, arrived in Manchester in 11 degrees, bouncing rain, absolutely miserable British weather. And I was just like, how can I create more travel in my life? I've got 3 young children, so it's a bit tricky. And I just sort of like started, without trying to figure out the how and coming from it from that hustle energy. I was in such a relaxed, playful energy because we'd had a great holiday. I just sort of put it out there, like, how can I create more travel in my life and be paid for it, right? Because everybody talks about retreats, and I'm like, oh, they're quite expensive, and it's a lot of pressure to organize and all this stuff. And this light bulb moment just came to me. I was like, how about a co-working trip abroad? Where I geek out on looking up flights and beautiful villas. That's my guilty pleasure. I was like, I could organize this where we just get a group of women to come and stay in a beautiful villa, like-minded, bouncing ideas off of one another. There's no schedule. Just bring your bikini and your laptop and let's go. And I put it out there to the ladies in my mastermind, and they were all like, I'm in. Sign me up. Where do I sign? It was fully booked within 3 days, this trip. We're going to Malaga, by the way, in Spain. And I was like, that's a classic example of taking inspired and aligned action from one thought and one feeling, which came out of nowhere, right? Simply because I was in this relaxed, playful, creative state, having just been on holiday, I'd stepped away from my office, my habitual daily grind kind of thing. And so I think that's, yeah, and Joe talks about this, Dr. Joe, when you set a clear intention from an elevated emotion, that's the sort of that's how you manifest. And I would add to that and take inspired action.
Yeah, I think I saw your post on social media actually when you proposed the co-working.
Oh, did
So,
you see
yeah,
it?
I'm pretty sure I did. I thought that was a wonderful idea. And you just never know how your ideas are going to manifest, right? Like you said, there'll be this sudden inspiration, this light bulb moment, and all of a sudden it all comes together. So,
And
yeah,
if you are open enough to following your joy compass, right? Like that's what I love. So like let's lean into that rather than pushing and doing the things you think you should be doing. Like let's just open up enough. And it's like those horses, they have the blinders on their eyes,
yeah,
so they don't get
yeah.
scared in traffic. When you're in the sort of low vibe emotions, like your fear and your anxiety and your overwhelm, it's like having those blinders on. You can't see the opportunities and you're not open to the little messages and serendipities and things like that. So it's about working, like investing the time to just be in that relaxed trust that the how is gonna be revealed when I am in a playful, creative state. Whereas most of us are like in it, trying to figure out the how and all the little bits to the strategy. And I'm not dissing strategy, but I think we place too much emphasis on that piece.
Yeah, I can see how that works. I'm curious, how can people start on this path? Because there may be some listeners who are saying, no, well, Gemma, I'm working two jobs. I'm trying to make ends meet. I come home at night. My kids are screaming. I'm trying to do my best to keep on top of laundry and cleaning, getting lunches ready for them. I don't have time to sit back and be playful and relaxed. When should I do
Yeah.
that? How should I do that? How can they take some steps, like maybe some of the small steps that you were
Yeah.
talking about earlier, to start on that path of coming into that state of being?
Yeah. So great question, because that's exactly like my clients. No time, no money. How do I start this off? So your subconscious brain is at its most susceptible first thing in the morning when you're just waking up, last thing at night when you're just about to go to sleep. So what I would suggest is just start playing with those times, just a couple of minutes at those times in the morning and in the evenings before you go to sleep, thinking and feeling and imagining, right? I think that whole piece about imagination is massively underrated, and we're not taking advantage of a superpower that we have there, apart from athletes. And obviously, we've been watching the Olympic athletes and all their incredible performances. But athletes will use that pre-performance routine to visualize and rehearse their whatever they're doing, their performance. We can do the same as entrepreneurs or as ambitious women. We can use our imagination to visualize that end result and invoke those emotions and then invoke the thoughts. And just 2 to 3 minutes, twice, like 2 or 3 times a day, even if you do it in your lunch break as well. It's about putting your laptop down, putting your phone down, and just spending time. And you can call it meditation, call it what you want, but it's spending time purposefully and intentionally creating the thoughts and feelings that match with your desired outcome, your big result. You've got to spend time with your big goal, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And then you actually get to feel into what that feels like. If you imagine yourself, you visualize yourself in some of those situations that you might be thinking of, a vacation or a job that aligns with you, a business that aligns with you. And those visualizations will generate feelings that will then actually start raising your vibration, right? So,
Yeah. Then you'll get your
mm,
little golden nuggets and your
yeah.
little light bulb moments like, oh, I've just had a really good idea. Or it might come to you in a dream. I've had that a lot with like my
Yes.
clients. They're like, I had this amazing dream and it's actually a really good idea. And I'm like, roll with it, like go for it. Because as entrepreneurs, like the very definition of entrepreneurs, we're risk takers, right? Like we want to be in that creative, playful space where we're going to try this and try that. There is not one blueprint to build a business. It does not exist. We have to be like scientists and try this and try that. And did it work? No, it didn't. But not make that mean something about ourselves. Like, oh my God, it didn't work. Therefore, I'm not worthy or not good enough, or it's never going to work out for me. Because I had a belief where, I mean, I wasn't consciously aware of this at all. It's the whole thing. It's the whole point is that this is unconscious thinking. But my belief was there are the haves and the have-nots. And I'm a have-not. And so I'm doomed because it doesn't matter what I do. I'm always going to be a have-not. And you talk about that out loud. It sounds crazy, but that is where I was at with it, just from the way I've lived my life, the way my upbringing, and really putting that down and saying, enough's enough. I'm not thinking like that anymore. I'm going to step away from that. You've got to spend some effort. You've got to spend some time and effort on creating new thoughts that you want to think, just like planting a seed into a garden. I'm going to plant this seed, this new thought, and I'm going to nurture it. I'm going to spend time with it. I'm going to water it. None of us do that because we're too busy on the hamster wheel. Go, 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 go.
Yeah. And of course, you can't expect change if you're not doing anything differently. It'll just turn out the same. So,
That's
yeah, that makes sense to me. Now, tell us a bit about your programs, your services. How can our listeners connect with you and work with you if they feel inspired by what we've talked about the past half hour? What do you have to offer?
So I hang out mainly on Facebook. I had a bit of an incident a couple of weeks ago where my Facebook and Instagram both got hacked, and I like fortunately managed to recover my Facebook account. My Instagram got disabled; it's gone. So if you want to follow me, definitely Facebook is the place to do it. And I have a little link in my bio, and it's called Links to Everything, and it's just one page which has all my stuff. So it's got some freebies, it's got a free masterclass, a couple of downloadable PDFs. And then it's got all my paid offers. So that's like a one page with everything. If this makes sense, everything I've been talking about, and you're like, I need this, then it's one-to-one coaching. I offer a program called Success Becomes Her. And it's kind of a point A to point B journey where we're going to start here with where you're at. And I'm going to build, like I was saying before, using all of these change patterns, all of the things that you need to really step into your full potential and to really become your best self and to achieve those big goals that you might have just put down as like, well, that's just for other people, or that's just, that's just me being a dreamer or something like that. No, we're here to play bigger. So that's my signature program. It's called Success Becomes Her. It's not surface level and it's not for the faint-hearted. It's for people who are really willing to open that can of worms because I take a deep dive. And we do a lot, the first half of it is a lot of healing and clearing. So we spend a lot of time bringing up, drudging up all of those suppressed emotions and memories. And then the second half is really the fun part where we can work on alignment energies and really future pacing and getting comfortable with the unknown and giving ourselves permission to receive and all of that fun stuff. So that's my signature program. I run it as a group as well, but I don't have a date, maybe January for the next group, but certainly that one-to-one program would be a good place to start.
Amazing. And we will be linking to all of Gemma's offerings in the show notes as well. So be sure to check there on how you can connect with her. And let us know if you end up working with Gemma. Let us know what your experience is like. Give us a bit of insight so listeners can get some thoughts on what it's like to work with Gemma, what kind of things they can work on with her. Definitely get in touch and to give us your experiences. We'd love to hear about it. And this
Mm.
has been another incredible episode. And I really hope our listeners have enjoyed our journey into change your mindset, change your life as much as I have. I had a wonderful time. Again, I learned so much in the past half hour that we've been chatting. Has been fantastic to have you on as a guest, Gemma. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much and take care.
Okay.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Journey on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejourney.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.